the last round of
Horror Show.
You're officially dead. Come on, can't you see they're setting you up for something? Paranoid? I'm not paranoid. All my fears are real. Come on.
Welcome to the Last Roundup Horror Show. I'm Franklin.
I'm Jared.
I'm Jason.
And before we get going, Jared, I want to ask you, how you been sleeping lately?
All right.
Well, I think I know a way you could be sleeping a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever heard of Casper mattresses?
I haven't.
Oh, shit. They do that on podcasts. I was just joking. The advertisement.
I thought you were going to yell at him for being a dick to us. How do you sleep at night? You're such a dick.
No, I was just making a general podcast joke because people, podcasts, for some reason, are like the community that buy mattresses a lot. But how often would you suppose you would buy a mattress?
I think you're supposed to every 5 years.
Whenever
Really?
it wears out.
Yeah.
Spend a third of your life in bed. It's not just a mattress. It's an investment.
Ooh.
I mean, that's where you spend, what, a third of your life?
Yeah.
That's what he just said.
I mean,
I didn't say a third.
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
And
Bingo.
what age are you now? When's the last time you fell asleep on a couch? How'd you feel when you woke up?
Oh, God, it sucks, man.
Yeah, it hurts. Yeah, you got to sleep good. You got nothing the next day after 35.
I can't even sleep on my back anymore.
I got to stand up.
Like, after an hour, I feel like I dislocated something in my back.
I sleep standing
And
up.
what the fuck do you do with these sons of bitches, right? Like, I don't know. Like this? What do you do? What's the move? What do you put your arms at night?
Under my pillow.
Really?
Yeah, I sleep
this?
like on my stomach.
Like that. Oh, you sleep on your stomach. I can't do that. I got to go on my side or I almost... Like, if I go on my back, I'm going to die in the night. I can't...
you
fucking...
can't do
it sucks.
Yeah, it was a good bit, Frank.
It was good. That was all right. Today we're talking about...
There it is again.
Damn it. 3 movies. Up first, from 1989, Society. And what's just general opinions, Jared? Right off the bat.
Let's, why don't we give a summation?
A summation? I got it right here.
Give the summation.
This is what I think IMDb had.
It's
An
a good
ordinary
place.
teenage boy discovers his family is part of a gruesome orgy cult for the social elite.
That's what the movie is.
Yeah, basically. Takes a while to get there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of funny shit that happens in between.
This is Jason's pick. Why don't have Jason start?
Well, let me give a
tell him
things.
about it. Tell him a little bit about it.
Okay, you said 1989, which it did come out in 89 in the UK.
Right.
Actually, wasn't a US release till 92. Directed by Brian Usna, who also did the second and third Reanimator, Bride and Beyond, Return of the Living Dead 3, The Dentist.
Ticks. Daggone.
He's done some good stuff.
The Guyver. I want to point that one out.
Daggone.
The Guyver.
He did that daggone.
Yeah.
It was
Daggone.
And Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
It was written, Frank. Rick Fry and Woody Keith. I don't know what they've done.
They did. Rick is known
Society.
for Bride of Reanimator.
Oh, he wrote that?
He wrote that. And Woody wrote the... No, they both wrote Bride of Reanimator, according to my notes. What's your notes say, Jared?
They're familiar. You got a tagline?
Stuff.
You got a tagline on this?
No, I didn't get that.
In Beverly Hills, what you fear is only the beginning.
Damn. It's wicked. Is that the only one? They only have one?
That's the only one I found.
Did you know
Distributed by Wild Distributed by Wild Street Pictures, and this wasn't released.
Ooh, re-loose.
This wasn't released on Blu-ray till 2015 by Arrow Video, and it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Did you know who did? Do you know who did the special effects on this one?
I seen it, but I didn't.
A guy by the name of Screaming Mad George, who did work on Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4.
Yeah, that heater hums.
Got me hot, Jared.
He's going through the whole beginning.
Frank.
Nightmare on Elm Street 4
And 3.
and 3.
Freaked, An American Werewolf in Paris, Predator, Poltergeist 2, and Big Trouble in Little China.
Ooh, and what was it? What is it?
He's the guy that did the body horror effects at the end.
Yeah.
So, how old do you think the main character was when he played this teenage boy?
You're asking me a real question?
His name's Bill Whitney. The
I
character
would
Bill
say
Whitney, played by Billy Warlock.
28.
You hit it on the head.
Oh, that's how he looks.
Yeah. Did you also think he kind of looked like a lost Sheen? Like he looked
I was
the
gonna
hair of Emilio, but the voice of Charlie.
I was gonna say if you put Michael J. Fox and Emilio Estevez
I had
together,
it written right there.
he sounds just like Michael J. Fox. I kept waiting for Doc.
Yeah, a hair of Emilio, voice of Charlie, and a Marty McFly vibe.
Frank's putting together his perfect man.
Yeah, I would give him a 10. No, but my favorite line in this movie is when Billy and his girlfriend are at school, and he says, "I'm trying to tell you something here, and all you're doing is giving me a bunch of shit." I laughed so fucking hard because I've said that to somebody before. I felt his pain.
So what was your favorite scene? Because I know what mine was.
There's so much that happens at the end. Are you considering that one big?
Yeah,
long...
just the end is what I would go for. The end.
Okay, your favorite shot. That's what I guess I should get to. Your favorite shot when he goes in the bathroom and sees his sister taking a shower.
With like her tits on her back.
You get to see tits and ass.
Oh, here we are.
Hey-o.
I'll tell you what. I liked when they were. What did they call it? The shunting at the end.
Yeah.
When they had their mouths like suction cupped to the body or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that also at the end, it got a little bit weird and gross with how many lubed up old naked people there were. So, but of course, I took that as part of the horror. So, but also very not what I wanted to see.
When he pulls, what's his name? The tycoon.
The tycoon.
Yeah.
Ferguson.
When he pulls him inside out.
That was awesome.
The fingers out the eyes and the eyes pop out. That's what I would say is the best.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the ending's very erotic and sultry. If you want a sex scene, ladies and gentlemen, check out Society. But overall, I think that I'm right in the middle on this movie because I thought it took a while to get there, but once it got there, it was fucking wild.
And you can't go into this thinking it's a serious movie.
No, but you know what? Like the music doesn't. It seems like I'm watching something different for some of it. Like it almost seems like you're watching a soap opera or something. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like
my problem with the movie was it pulls in two different directions of something that doesn't go together. Like all the head games they play with Bill Whitney, they shoot it like they're actually trying to make it Cronenberg-y. Right. Like they're trying to do this big head trip. But it's so Ticks, Bride of Reanimator camp.
Definitely
They should have chose one direction or the other. And honestly, they didn't have the acting.
No.
To pull off, like, when you're trying to do some kind of serious psychological type vibe, and you got Emilio Estevez with Michael J. Fox's voice saying,
dude, that hair
I'm
was
trying to
fucking
tell you
Emilio,
something, and you're giving me shit. Like, they should have, and what ends up happening is they put so much of that in the first 2/3 that it was light on all this stuff you want to see in a cheesy campy movie. Now the end more than makes up for it. There is as much of that in the last 25 minutes of the movie as in a normal movie like that all throughout. The end is just insane.
I couldn't even describe the end to somebody. We can't even spoil it because it's impossible to describe what happens.
But yeah, the first 2/3 definitely is just, it's disjointed and it fails. The first 2/3 fails as a cheesy movie, and it definitely fails as like a Naked Lunch or a Videodrome style. Like it. It's weird to even say.
It doesn't fail.
Yeah, the first 2/3.
I disagree. Yeah. No, it doesn't fail.
Yeah.
No,
it doesn't pull either one of those off.
But to say fail.
I
it's not
enjoyed
fail.
the first part of the movie because it reminded me of something you would watch late at night on Cinemax, like that would be late on night on Cinemax.
Yeah, if there would have been more stuff like the end through the first two
This
thirds,
was a late night from.
it would be a fantastic all the way through cheesy movie.
Right.
But
you
they pulled. I mean, there's only like 2 deaths in the first 2/3, and you don't see either of them.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it really is just kind of rich people acting
well, actually,
weird.
the one's not even a death because they bring him in.
it was
at the
faked.
end. So
what'd you give this movie?
I give it a 6. I think the first 2/3 of it are well lower than that. I found the first 2/3 fairly boring, and it doesn't go anywhere. The end pays off in such a great way, though, that it definitely makes the movie worth watching.
What'd you give it, Frank?
I give it a 5 because, like I said, I was right in the middle on it. Like, I thought the ending was like that. Whenever he pulls his fist out of Ferguson and the lips just go, that reminded me of something out of Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, I could see that.
Exactly. And the whole ending, although it was the old dudes, that was fucking. I saw, like that one dude really took a long time to transform back into himself, and I thought that was a little bit not for me. But what can you say?
I'm right there with Jared. I gave it a 6.
I had to score it a little higher than average because through the whole first 2/3, I'm sitting there watching it saying, man, if this doesn't pay off at the end, this is not a very good movie. And I wasn't expecting it to. And then the end hits and it's like, oh, never mind. It paid off.
Yeah, I didn't know neither of you had seen this. I thought for sure.
Yeah, brand new to me.
Yeah.
Good.
I would remember. You
Yeah,
definitely would remember this.
I wasn't sure how I missed it either. I mean, that's right up my alley. And Brian Usna was a name that I would, when I see his name on stuff, I would rent it.
Maybe that's why I enjoyed it more than you guys, is because it was kind of nostalgic. I know for sure the cover that I have is different artwork, but I want to say the cover had a I don't know, it was either like a guy in a tuxedo or a girl in
It's the girl.
dress.
It's probably the girl in the dress, kind of morphing a little bit.
I remember that cover
Yeah,
a lot.
and I could see somebody with a Cronenberg vibe remaking the movie into something more serious, and it being creepy as shit.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know Brian Usna.
Yeah.
I can
Come
never
on,
say it.
Jared, for confidence in it.
If you know his stuff, you obviously know that he's not going to pull off anything Cronenbergy.
Right.
It's not going to work.
So
I don't think the movie's a failure,
Middle of the road.
but I think what they did in the first half failed.
Worth a watch. Watch this movie.
If they could have spread that end throughout the whole movie, I'd have probably given it an 8.
Yeah, everybody should see the ending at least. I mean, for God's sakes, I don't even think I still comprehend it. I don't know what's happening. I have an idea, but I don't know. I liked it. Anyways,
It's wacky.
We're up. What are we on to now? The news?
Yeah, let's do the news.
Let's do the news.
And now the last round of horror show.
Not much has happened in horror over the last couple weeks, but I do have a couple things here. Quentin Tarantino's upcoming 9th feature film focuses on a male actor in 1969 who had a hit TV series and looking to get back into the business. The murder of Sharon Tate and her 4 friends by Charles Manson serves as the backdrop. Another little thing, we have 4K transfers of Silence of the Lambs and Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead is going to be a never before seen cut. And we can expect those both February 13th. As far as Blu-ray releases, This month, we have not seen a whole lot, but we do have a few today. Being released is Misery by Scream Factory, a new transfer, some new special features, new artwork. You could always expect a good release from Scream Factory. And the movie Get Out and Trailer Trauma 4. If you're not familiar with Trailer Trauma, it's a compilation of a bunch of horror movie trailers that's been restored. So pretty cool stuff. That's it for the news.
Okay, you son of a bitch. Your brother wants to meet me. Let's meet. I'm not afraid of you, or him, or any of you. So come on. Let him look me in the face so I can carve up his sick, laughable body.
We're back from the news.
Well, that was quick.
There wasn't a whole lot going on.
That was
last
quick
couple
or
weeks.
long,
It was quick.
depending on what ends
It was
up.
quick. There wasn't a whole lot going on.
Well, now we're into 1990 and Basket Case 2. You guys are fans? I mean, Jason's a fan of the Basket Case movies. He just bought the whole bunch of them on Blu-ray.
Well, let me explain that. Like, what I know, I wanted the first one,
Right.
and then, I like the first one pretty good. So I was just going to go Blind Buy Part 2, and when I went to look, I mean, I could get all three, the whole collection for cheaper than what I could have bought 1 and 2. So the third movie is just a bonus. So that's why I bought it.
You got a summation on this one?
Sure. Dwayne and his basket-bound mutant brother are taken in by a secret home for wayward freaks with a journalist hot on their tail. So, it seems to me that all of these movies follow one right after another. I'm wondering if they shot them all like right after each other.
No, I think there's quite a bit of space.
Did you know that the mom from Pete and Pete plays the news reporter in this?
I don't know what Pete and Pete is.
What?
I don't know what Pete. No, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm the lone guy. Nickelodeon, Two Brothers, The Adventures of Pete and Pete.
I didn't have Nickelodeon.
That rings a bell, but I can't picture it.
I didn't have satellite TV out here in these woods that we're in right now. Yeah, I didn't have it until like 98, 99.
Yeah, this is written and directed by Frank Henenlotter.
Henenlotter. Confidence.
Yeah, I have a hard time with that. Known for the Basket Case movies, of course, and Frankenhooker.
And brain damage.
Brain damage.
Yep.
Granny Ruth is played by Annie Ross, who was a famous jazz singer. Did you know that? And first appeared on a little.
I
Rascals.
did, actually.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
I don't know. I don't know what jazz you listen to. Did you know that the dude from Dawn of the Dead was in this? The Flyboy, Peter MG or whatever his name is.
I didn't recognize
Or
it.
David MG. He was the Half Moon guy. Why would they put him in the back?
Oh, that's why.
Why would they put him in the background though?
That's why I didn't
Why would he
recognize
put him like that? One of the Franco boys is also a freak, and Ted Sorrell.
Which Franco boy?
Tom Franco.
Is that what we're calling them? Freaks?
Freaks, or yeah, that's what I call
I was
them.
going with monsters.
They're people, Jason.
Ted Sorrell, do you know who that is? Have you heard that name? He's in From Beyond. He plays Dr. Pretorius.
Gotcha.
He plays Phil. So I think we all remember who Phil is, right?
Did you get a tagline on this?
No.
Was Phil the reporter's boss?
Could have been.
I think it was the reporter's boss.
I wrote that down before I watched it. I
Anyways,
believe.
no.
But anyways,
Tagline.
what do you got?
It says, "Look who's back."
Belial is who's back.
Belial. This was, like you said, Frank, 1990. This one didn't get a DVD release until 2007.
Holy shit!
I'm not surprised.
Wow.
I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, me too.
But and Synapse also released it on Blu-ray in 2016.
I wanted to talk about how when Dwayne and Belial leave the hospital, isn't that a little too quick to just get out of a hospital? Because I think we've all three been in the hospital with the, childbirth and all that. It's literally a fucking, you got to get through the doors. You have to have people buzz you through the whole thing.
Yeah, like the hospital's on lockdown now. Like I forget what.
Especially, yeah, but if you're thinking child ward,
I thought
maternity
any
section.
of the sections of the hospital
I
are
don't
probably
think
like
all sections are like the maternity section. And you're basing it on 2010, and the movie was made to take place
I'm
in.
just amazed that they just get out. He's carrying Belial.
All the security guards asleep.
That's always the case.
I bet you could do it at Hardin Memorial.
You're probably right. You probably
And
do a lot of things.
that place felt like a 90s Hardin Memorial.
Do you know who did the special effects in this? Did you write that down?
No, I don't.
Gabriel.
I don't like to give those guys any credit.
No? Gabriel Bartalos. He worked on Leprechaun. Sometimes They Come Back. Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie. And he was the writer and director of Skinned Deep. Have you seen that with
I haven't seen
Warwick
either
Davis?
of the last two.
Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie. That means that he probably worked. Have you seen it, Jared?
Yeah.
He probably worked on that big dick. That,
Yeah,
there's a big dick in it.
I'm out already.
But do you want to go through?
Well, yeah. Well, let's just stay on the effects because this whole movie should have been shot with the guy in the mask or the costume, because when it's a real person, it looks bad as
it looks
shit.
good.
Sometimes this thing looks
terrible. That was one of my points. I was like, why didn't
right
they?
from the get-go when they're escaping and you see him like just dangling.
Yeah.
Like it was awful.
One of the things that I actually, for what this movie is, I enjoyed it.
I loved it.
One of the things I enjoyed about this movie is the insane inconsistency among the effects. You'll see something and you'll be like, shit, that looks good.
Yes.
And you'll see the same thing one scene
Oh my
later
God.
and be like, that's terrible. That's
How
terrible.
is it that they can do that awesome effect at the end whenever Belial twists that reporter's face? That looks cool as shit. You've never seen anything
Money.
like that. And then you look at Belial, and half the time he looks like a fucking statue. Somebody's just moving around.
Money.
But it
Well,
doesn't take
and
any
the
more
shots,
money
like
to put a guy's head like they did in a few shots. It doesn't cost. They already did it.
Yeah,
Just do it
and
more.
spent most of their money doing it.
I don't think
when
it
they
cost
had
that
to do-
much,
when
Jared.
they-
It couldn't have cost that much.
When they had to do it again, they
Yeah.
didn't have that money anymore.
Shit. You
You
know
know,
what?
when you're talking about money, you can fact check me, but I'm pretty sure I saw this at a budget of $2.5 million.
Shit. I could see that.
I think
What did it, well,
That's
they-
really low, though. I mean, that's not a lot of money for a movie.
for this movie
For a
in
big-
1990.
For a big prosthetics effect movie?
Yeah, I guess I don't know what that stuff cost, but
lot.
$2.5 million. I was surprised when I seen that.
I think we're burying the lead here because the best part of this movie is Lyle Barker. Do you remember him? He was the guy that owned the freak show that wasn't really a freak show. And he said, I'm going to make $100. $100. He got real excited.
Damn! 100 smackaroos! Wow! 100 smackaroos! Whoa, boy! 100 smackarinas!
Now this is why he's the best part of the movie. Lyle Barker, who was played by Jan Saint, also played these classic roles: Man Hit with Ball, Santa, Street Preacher, Old Man Playing Chess, Wino, Drunk, Bum in the Street, Cowboy Who Loses Hand, Morgue Attendant, Old Man in Dutch Village, Bartender, and Mailman. And also Lyle Barker. Huh?
It's good you gave him credit on all
he,
those.
all that was in this movie.
No, that's his
No, he
film
played
career.
Lyle Barker
Oh.
in this movie. That's
his-
all of his
I
credits.
don't remember seeing any of this. So
If you-
That's his
No.
only role with the name in a movie.
okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But the one that I really like is he played Cowboy Who Loses a Hand. That's probably his best role, I would assume. You gotta assume. Are you done with it, Jared? You want me to move on?
No, I'm listening.
I don't have. Well, I got a whole back page of shit here. What's my problem? Oh yeah, what's the deal with the gargoyle on the house? Is that like a freak? Is that another freak, or is that just a regular haunted gargoyle?
It's a moving gargoyle.
What? Yeah. No, I thought it was like just a prop too, but then at the end, I think
It's eating
laughing
hot
or
dogs. It's
something.
eating hot dogs.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be one of the freaks. It's just where they didn't. Someone was like, "Do people born with deformities where they're gargoyles?" No one bothered
The
questioning.
freaks, the monsters, whatever we're gonna call them. I think
They were
great.
awesome. They looked way better than Belial. And whenever that photographer dude pops up and takes all the photos of them in the attic, that's an awesome scene. I think that looks great.
Yeah, I
When he
have
gets
that. I have
killed
that
over
written
there.
down as well. That's a great scene.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
And the scene again in the attic where she's giving her like speech to the children.
That had a very.
That was great too.
That had a very.
Like when they start all getting excited, like that was a little creepy.
Yeah.
The old lady made me feel like Troll 2. Her acting.
Granny Ruth.
Yeah, Granny Ruth made me feel like Troll 2.
I can see that. Let's talk about the most important scene, the sex scene. Woo.
And you saw it building too.
Yeah.
They was just started off just looking at each other.
It's a love story.
Touching
It is,
hands.
for real. You can't find any credit anywhere for who the head of Belial was, or who the head of Eve was. You can't find. They're just non people. I'm assuming they were makeup artists or something.
Probably.
But yeah, I thought that whole end sequence where
thought
that
it
was
was-
going on. And
I
then-
thought it was tasteful
tastefully done.
and erotic,
Oh yeah, for sure.
but in a very classy way.
Yeah, and when I liked how they were bouncing out with Dwayne and the baby monster in that. That was just the ending was just awesome. I liked it a lot. Yeah, and then Dwayne sews Belial back on himself, and that's just a good, nice wrap up. Nice ending.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I was pretty surprised at how good it was.
Well, what did you give it?
I gave it a 6.
Yeah, I feel bad. I was kind of torn because I don't want to get into doing halves, but
Don't do halves.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more. I enjoyed it not a lot, but I enjoyed it more than Society. But I rated it the same. I gave it a 6, but this movie does a much better job of knowing exactly what it is.
Yeah,
And just it ran like
it couldn't not know what the fuck it was.
I'm a big fan of cheesy early 90s, just when no one gave a fuck anymore and they just did crazy out there shit, cuz especially on the sequels, everybody always just feels like you got to go bigger and better. And they went way off the rails on it. Like the freaks in the attic. I love how they look, but there's like the dude with the tiny body and the big head.
Yeah.
And it's like there's no way anyone looked at that and was like, we're gonna make a seriously scary movie on this.
the frog. Man.
Yeah.
The frog is way out of line.
But I give it a 6, but I give it a really strong
6.
really strong, closer to 7, 6, because it knows what it is and it's enjoyable all the way through. The acting, whenever you get out of any kind of ridiculous effects shots, the acting is just way over the top.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous
Yeah,
and
that's
hilarious.
Probably why that Dwayne guy wasn't in anything other than basket case movies.
So yeah, it knew what it was from beginning to end. The hospital scene in the beginning, it's all of like 10 minutes, and they're just going because they were like, okay, let's sort how this movie happens since they both die at the end of part 1. Spoiler alert. But they're just like, okay, let's sort it and go, and they did. So I wanted to give it a 7, but it's not quite that good.
I give it a 9. That's because I don't make sense. No, I give it a 9 because
Strong one.
honestly, if they would have done better with Belial, this would have been perfect. I don't know.
It just goes back to what he said. It inconsistent. I like when it's a man playing Belial. It looks great, but I know you're limited to the shots because you can't have you got to hide the body.
For me, that it's fitting when Belial goes from this like human face and he looks really good, and then the next thing he's like this rubber hand puppet that they're just carrying around. I lose it every time, but I'm laughing and enjoying the movie, and that's so that the
I laughed out loud
inconsistency-
whenever he started laughing at Dwayne or something, and it just cuts to him.
the inconsistency of it is part of my enjoyment of the movie.
Well,
we got now the Book Nook.
What are you calling it? You said you had a name?
The Reading Rainbow of Death.
Okay, and now
I still don't know what I'm calling it.
On to Jared's realm.
Jared's realm. Don't call it that.
I love reading books, it's fun. I often read them with my mum. I like reading to explore. There's no better way, I'm sure. I love reading.
Today, I am going to be talking about author Jonathan Raab, author of The Hillbilly Moonshine Massacre and The Lesser Swamp Gods of Little Dixie. He is also the head man over at Muzzleland Press, which is a small indie press that put out fantastic books. The anthologies that they put out is a lot of those people are going to be the people that I'm trying to talk to, and I have talked. I have talked to Raab. We will do an interview with him for this second episode. His books are everything that, like the movies we were just talking about today, they are everything that is great about those and better. It's very it's crazy out there. It gets into conspiracy stuff, has an X-Files vibe, but having talked to him, he's very into the trash cinema of the 80s and the slasher films and enjoying most of the stuff for the same reasons that we do.
But you keep bringing up all this like indie stuff.
I do.
Well, what would you say the big difference is between indie as opposed to Stephen King?
Same as in movies.
What is
like?
It?
Think of
asked you.
Imagination. Not you can tell these. You can tell a lot of the stories that I've read from a lot of the authors I hope to be talking to and am talking to. They're not it's not about fashioning a easily digestible product that can be sold to masses. They get an idea and they want to explore their idea. So
would you say that's the same reason for these stories not being made into movies?
I think it would be impossible from what Jared's explained from
too
some
much,
of the
too
stories.
much stuff in it.
I like the fact that none of these books have ever been turned into a movie is
like you're recommending these authors to me, to everyone.
It's the same reason I put it in our world of music. It's the same reason Gudger doesn't have a record deal.
Why is that?
They're plenty good enough. It's just like anything.
You're giving
else.
me examples of stuff, but I don't know the answers to any of these questions.
Like anything else, it's who you know, knowing people in the business.
So you don't think you don't think the content, you don't think the stories are just too far fetched?
Oh no. The thing about Raab's work that I really like is I've describing him a couple times. I've said James Gunn, because every once in a while, like when you're working in indie and underground and you get a lot of those basket case 2s, which is clearly someone running crazy on ideas, but nothing against the director or the movie makers, but they're clearly not top notch. Most of what they do
here we go.
Most of what they do isn't running on their competence at their job, but their ideas. So what I really like about Raab is he doesn't need the excess and crazy to be a good author. Not everything. He's wrote a couple war stories. Not everything he writes is out there nuts. He can just tell a good story. He happens to like crazy 80s trash cinema. So it's like Slither. I always think of Slither. Like, you have someone who is very good at what they do that happens to like this insane genre that most of the time is just crazy ideas and semi-competent people doing it. Hillbilly Moonshine Massacre is great because it's a very talented writer exploring these crazy out there world that people don't touch. But it's aliens and Satan worship and sacrifices and government conspiracies and shadow governments and drug trips to fight aliens on the astral plane. Like, it's all of it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really good.
And you're going to talk to him on the
Yes.
next episode.
Yes, I'll be talking to him on the next episode. And it's, like I said, it's not all he does. He actually runs Muzzleland Press, which puts out lots of their newest book, Terror in 16 Bits. It's all short story anthologies on video game inspired horror. And his story in that is inspired by Splatterhouse, I believe. But it's called Dr. Coagulate's Splatter Lab. But, yeah, I mean, like, that's just stuff you don't see in kind of... mainstream might be the word for it. But the mainstream, like... They're as well written, but you don't have a lot of the mainstream horror being like, I'm going to write this book that is inspired by a video game. And when you read it, like, the dude dies, comes back to life at the beginning of the level. I mean, it's a story contained within the rules of a video game without ever actually saying it's a video game. It's fun. I mean, it's a cool read, just because it's different and imaginative.
I think that it's one of those things to where, like, if a story like this gets made into a movie, it probably isn't going to be a good movie. But if you use your mind, like, some of these bad horror movies might be great stories.
Most of these, a lot of the stories I've read, if you made a good movie about it, you could make a great movie about it. But you're right. The reason they're not being picked up for movies is because, I mean, these are indie authors. A lot of it's self-published. They're selling it. It's no different than what we do in Mississippi Bones, just mailing stuff out to people from your house. I mean, just good people and are good at what they do. And like anything else, it's just hard to get noticed. And from talking to everybody, I've come to find selling books is probably the hardest art form to try to sell, because it seems about any other medium is digestible, at least to tell if you like it or not, or want to take a chance on it in a quick amount of time. We play music. If we can get someone to hear us for 15 seconds, they might not even have to be realizing it. They could be doing dishes, catch 10, 15 seconds of a song, and be like, oh, what is that? And spark interest. You're not going to have anybody kind of not exactly knowing what they're doing catch 15 seconds of a book and be like, I'm buying this shit.
15 seconds of a book.
Yeah. So,
anyways, we should probably get on to our third feature film. This is wow, man. This is a wow.
Is this Jared's pick?
This is Jared's pick.
What are we doing? The Beyond the Black Rainbow.
2010. Despite being under heavy sedation, a young woman tries to make her way out of the Arborea Institute, a secluded quasi-futuristic commune. This was written and directed by Panos Cosmatos. This was his first movie, and he is the son of George P. Cosmatos, who is best known for what, Jason?
I don't know. I was going to ask you who this is.
He was known for writing and directing Rambo First Blood Part 2. Maybe he didn't write it. Directed Rambo First Blood Part 2, Cobra, and Tombstone.
Okay.
But this is his son's movie, and I think it's a bold move. It's a bold first film to put out.
Yeah.
It's very artistic, and I don't know if it's for me, Jared. I gotta be honest.
It looks cool. Has great music, great atmosphere.
Would have been better as a music video.
It's not good. I didn't like this movie.
No, I didn't either, man.
Very little dialogue. Like this, I could have memorized the lines in this movie. Everyone's lines.
Yeah.
Without a problem.
This is the way I can describe.
It's an atmosphere type movie.
This is the way I can describe it.
It has.
Somebody had a dream. They told it to Stanley Kubrick, and then Stanley Kubrick gave it to Vincent Gallo to direct.
Yeah, I mean
it's just so.
It's more heavily. It's visual. You watch it. It's clear what it's meant. It's meant to be visual and atmospheric. It's fairly surrealist. I mean, it's not a here's a plot movie. We're going to tell this.
If you're going to take acid, go ahead and take acid
This would
and
be
then
fitting.
watch
This
this.
would be fitting for that.
Kids, if you're getting into pot nowadays, this would be good for you. I don't know. It's kind of like one of those movies we would have watched when we were 17.
This took an hour and 30 minutes before I felt like anything actually happened in the movie. It's an hour and 50 minutes long, so it's long to begin with.
I feel the same way I do about 2001: A Space Odyssey, about this movie. It's like just long and very artful. It's there's a lot of potential here to do something amazing, but I think he overshot it. He like really wanted to do a fucking piece of art.
Yeah, it's more about what you see. Yeah. Like movies like this, I think of that David Lynch book that I read where he's kind of explaining how he makes stuff, and he's like, the purpose isn't for me to tell you what's going on. You have a window into a world, and you just get to see this much. It's not about you being aware of how everything fits. And it's one of those. The purpose wasn't to create a full world that you understand. It's to catch a glimpse and to...
There were things I liked. I mean, I'm not gonna... I liked the red Necron 99 looking suits that they had.
Yeah, I rated this one
the last 20 minutes of this movie is okay. Yeah. Like this movie, don't go into this movie thinking it's a horror movie at all, because it's not. Sci-fi,
yeah, definitely.
Heavy
not
sci-fi.
Horror.
The any horror aspect.
The only horror aspect of it was when she walked through that room and that thing tried to eat her, and then it's just licking the glass. Like that's the only time I felt that it was
the only horror aspect of it.
And I don't think it's even labeled genre-wise.
Yeah, would be the psychological side, like the states they're in. But it's I mean, in thinking monsters and scary and no.
It's not.
No, it's not.
The best part about it, I think, is probably the sound design and the music that accompanies everything, because there's such weird shit that happens.
It seems like that's probably a good soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Visually, I thought it was stunning.
But again, nothing happens until 90 minutes in this movie. There's a small part where it's good. But then at the end, are you kidding me? That's how the movie's going to end?
Oh, with the
that's
dude
that's my big
hitting his head on a rock.
Hits his head on a rock. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's my
an hour and 15 minutes
for that
for him to hit his head on a rock.
Yeah, that was my big complaint about it. I did rate it higher than the other two though.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
See, I gave it a 3, but
that's exactly what I gave it.
I only gave it a 3 because of the competency. If this was not put together well, I would have not even given it a rating.
Looks good, feels good, sounds good.
Put it on in the background while you clean your house.
That's as far as this goes.
Yeah, I gave it a 7.
Wow.
I'll probably watch it again.
I could see you liking this because it seemed like something. Like it seemed like. Could you imagine like Philip K. Dick writing something like this?
Yeah, and movies like this, you get to add your own, and I enjoy doing that. Like the real motivations and exactly what is going on. I mean, obviously they show Reagan and maybe the Cuban guy from that era. So you know it takes place in the 80s, but like you get to add your backstory because they don't. Other than there's a doctor that's trying to come up with drugs to make humans more human. I mean, it's basically that kind of. It's that kind of story. We're making humans better than what humans are. And it deals in broad themes, like Control.
They didn't touch on that at all.
I couldn't
They
fucking
didn't touch
stop.
on that at all.
Dude,
like the Control part, like where they're like trying to piss her off and she's not reacting.
But yeah,
it's when they play the video at the beginning, they're trying to.
It's
where is all of that? Yeah, like where are they trying to do?
It leaves it up to you to kind of decide how these things work. They're not going. It doesn't.
I was trying to decide whether I should
not for 90 minutes.
I couldn't. This is why it irritated me the most. It's so long already, and I kept dozing off, and then I'd have to wake up and rewind it back because I didn't want to miss anything. But it's like. I didn't miss anything. It's just a dream. I might as well have had a dream.
What was all the tension with the? Was that his mom? The woman that he lived with. Yeah. Like what? Like it. The music made it tense, and the way they interacted with each other. But
Well, she knows
What
what
was
he.
it?
I mean, she knows what he had been through, who he actually is, and we don't find that out until a lot
until he
later.
takes off his.
But so I mean, she kind of has a better idea of who he actually is, and he's kind of character-wise wearing a mask through the he's putting on and she knows. So it's always tense because he's to the point to where he's doing it all the time, even around people that. So she's. I mean, like they don't. And I agree. I mean, the movie it doesn't explain it to give it to you to be like in this movie this is why, but it gives you plenty enough that you can make your own. You can make your own judgments.
If they were, the camera movements were
and
even
I
slow.
like that.
It was like everything was slowed down.
And it seems, I swear to God, and maybe they did this for just for the way they wanted it to look, but it seemed like the camera was out of focus a lot.
Yeah.
I think that might have been on purpose.
I hope to God.
It had to be.
Like,
otherwise, I'm giving them
see,
competency
but
points that
there's-
they don't deserve.
There's a lot of symbolism in it. Probably stuff you'd have to like. I couldn't even sit here and name it all off because I know I missed a lot of stuff.
Sometimes there was 6 or 7
But
things happening all at once.
A lot of it's that kind of
visually,
stuff.
anyways.
That you know the camera being out of focus the way is to make things feel off kilter. It's an atmosphere movie. It's meant to put you.
They hit that.
It's meant to put you in the vibe of where the story is, but that's it. And that's what
What'd you give this?
I gave it a 7. My big complaint is him at everything at the very end. They finally meet up at the end, and he trips and hits his head on a rock and dies. Is a terrible ending. Honestly, story-wise, when she got out, I felt like that was a movie's end. So it didn't kill the movie for me because everything after she got out and is walking away, I was fairly done. Anyways, I felt like that's a good ending.
That would have been a better ending.
She made it and got it free. So
I still would have been angry.
It didn't.
But it's better than what happened.
Why couldn't they?
That
they
part
could've-
at the end didn't ruin it. But
they could have pushed him off a cliff. Weren't they on a fucking cliff? There could have been anything better than a rock. She could have hit him with the rock.
It's like they only added that little bit past her escaping just to have the kill scene with the guys around the fire.
Yeah, and the only thing I can think is all of a sudden that felt like a normal world and a normal movie. And if maybe they added that extra bit. I mean, obviously this movie had no time taking its time trying to setting up anything it wanted to do. It's like, okay, I want it to feel a little bit like this. Okay, I'll take 20 minutes to do it. So the ending might have been, it's like, okay, she made it out. Now let's make it feel a bit more normal. And we'll just add this 15 minutes on the end, even though we could have done it in 3.
Yeah.
But
3's right.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it did a great job of setting the mood. I was in the story the whole time. I like that kind of out there.
Yeah. Different strokes.
I
knew Frank wasn't gonna. The whole time I'm watching this movie, I was like, Frank's probably yelling.
I
wasn't yelling. I was just, like I said, it's like someone telling you a dream. I was like,
I'm always a sucker for those stories that are where someone decides they're going to make people better than what they are, and then you kind of succeed with it, but then they want to control it and want it to be what they want it to be, but that defeats the whole purpose of doing it because you can't make something better and then have something inferior controlling it, so everything kind of falls apart. I'm always a sucker for those movies, and
you pulled a lot from this movie. You pulled a lot from it.
Yeah, there's a lot in it. If you're not into
there's not a lot in this movie.
If you're not into
You have to make this movie in your head for there to be anything.
If you're not into thinking about those kind of things while you're watching a movie and letting that be the main purpose of it, it's definitely not your movie. I mean,
otherwise, why don't we just write movies?
Like I'm starting to think maybe I have a little bit of ADD. Like it's like my mind I had to make myself pay attention to this movie.
It's David Lynchy.
I was finding myself grabbing my phone and playing with the dog. Like,
when a camera move is like so slow, you got time to look at your phone before it.
It's David Lynchy, but without even his newer stuff, to where he doesn't care as much about even the full story coming out. Where it's just like, here are scenes, this is a world, enjoy it for what it is. Right. It's that. If you're not into that, it's bad.
I wish people would listen to this and watch movies that we tell them to watch, or watch movies that we talk about, because this is definitely one I would like to hear people's opinion on.
Oh, for sure.
And it'll never be a movie where you'll get, I mean, it's always going to be split. People, if you don't, you're not going to get many middle of the roads.
It's not going. It'll be not going to be split.
Me giving
majority.
Me giving it a 7 is probably rare. You'll probably get people who are like, this was awesome.
You're the 1%. You're maybe the 10%. 1 out of 10 people.
You'll get someone who say this is awesome, or someone who more often people that are just awful.
Just another. It's the same. Frank's the same way. He likes some.
I like some shit.
He likes some horrible stuff. This is a good one to show that it works the same way, even if the movie's totally different than that.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. Check us out on Twitter at LRHS Pod.
Make sure to smash that like button,
subscribe.
Leave us a comment.
Actually, rate and review us on iTunes.
Don't forget about our Amazon promotional code.
Yeah, and Casper Mattresses always out there giving you a comfortable sleep.
Oh, and I forgot to mention it during my little segment. Muzzleland Press, you can find him on Facebook. You can find Jonathan Raab on Amazon.
Jonathan Raab.
All the stuff he worked on.
R-A-A-B, right?
R-A-A-B. You can find him on Amazon. You can find Muzzleland Press on Facebook. It's more than just his stories. Matthew Bartlett, he put out one of his books. The latest anthology, Terror in 16 Bits, was great. And I really recommend their other anthologies, too, as a good place to start in reading indie horror. This was one thing I meant to mention and forgot, because a lot of the writers he works with them and pop up in his books. Terror in 16 Bits has a big long list of everyone that I want to talk to already in it, like Alex Smith, Sean Thompson, Matthew Bartlett.
Calling you out.
They're all in there. There's a whole bunch of great people, and so I would check that out for sure.
But we will be back in a little while, and we will be talking about Black Sheep, The Loved Ones, and The Babysitter on our next episode. So we hope you join us again. Thanks for listening.
No, you stupid motherfuckers. This is a ZTOTV podcast.